Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to take a deep dive into the Deadshot daiquiri augments. We're going to take a look at the minor and the major ones and try to see which ones you all should be using inside of your game right now in Black Ops 6 Zombies. And I just gotta say, this one was actually kind of fun to test out, and there are a number of different ways that you can run these. Now, a quick little disclaimer here: I did not test the Deadshot, which reduces the gun movement while doing advanced movement. I tried to test this out and I couldn't really find a good way to test it. And also, I don't think it's a viable option to run inside of Zombies as is. I think that's great for maybe multiplayer or the Warzone integration coming up. But as far as Zombies, I think it's a pretty useless augment overall. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it and let's check out all of these Deadshot augments. Let's go. Okay, so step 1, activate power. And of course, the most important step of all to test out the Deadshot daiquiri augments is, well, to purchase Deadshot daiquiris. So here we go. So now this is a green rarity weapon. This is the AK-74. The weapon is really not important. The damage numbers are going to change based on the weapon that you're using, and of course the rarity and the pack-a-punch and all of those things. So we're not going to be focusing so much on the damage numbers, but the function of all of these different augments. Now, of course, Deadshot daiquiri alone, this is Deadshot daiquiri with absolutely no augments equipped right now, and that gives you basically a 10% bonus to your critical damage. It's a multiplier of 1.10, and this is universal across all of the bullet weapons. Once you equip the Deadshot daiquiri, you will get a 1.1 multiplier or a 10% bonus to your critical damage. Now, some of these numbers that we're seeing now are going to be kind of relevant to compare how the augments are working here. I'm getting a little bit of inconsistency here. You see some 346s or some 336s, some 335s, some 347s. Honestly, I'm not really entirely sure why there is a little bit of variation there in those critical shots on those zombies, but there is just a slight variation, and that's a theme that you're going to see throughout this video as we test the different augments here. There is some slight variations here and there in the numbers. Nothing's exactly as it should be, but everything seems to relatively be functioning as intended, except for one particular augment, which we will get into here shortly. So a little trick that you may or may not know: you can save and quit from a game of Zombies and go out and change your augments that you have equipped if you wanted to change it. I don't think it's a bug. I think that works as intended. Hopefully it works as intended, but it does work. You can go ahead and help out a game and go ahead and add things on. We're going to go ahead and add on the Dead Break, which increases damage to armor pieces, and let's go ahead and talk about this for a moment. Okay, so once we have this equipped, so prior to leaving the last match, I was testing against some of the armored zombies, and we were getting around 35 to 36 damage against the armored zombie, whether we were hitting critical shots or whether we were hitting them in the chest, arms, or whatever. Now, what I have found, and I have tested this over multiple games, I'm pretty confident that the Dead Break augment here in Black Ops 6 is currently bugged at the moment. It does not appear to have any effect whatsoever on the armored zombies. As you can see, even with it equipped, we are still just getting 35 and or 36 damage to the armored zombies, whether we hit critical shots or whether we hit the body shots. And as I said, I tested this in both maps in a few different games, and it does appear to be bugged right now and is not functioning as intended. Now, certainly if I am missing something, or if you guys are having a different experience with this augment, please let me know down in the comments, and I can try to retest this in some way. But if the best I can see here, it does appear to be bugged, and I would steer clear of that augment for the time being. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we are going to equip the Dead Head and the Dead Draw, and let's head back in. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Dead Head first. Now, basically what this does is it further increases the critical damage that is supplied by the basic Deadshot daiquiri perk itself, and you get an additional 10% bonus when dealing critical damage to the zombies. So the previous round we were dealing right around 336 damage on average. Like I said, there is a little bit of difference here and there. It go to 347 at times. And as you can see, we are right about 364 to 370, somewhere right in that range. with all of our critical shots. So we're getting an additional 10% with every single critical shot that we deal in this game. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later when we compare this to one of the other augments that is available here for Deadshot Daiquiri, and we'll kind of talk about the pros and cons a little bit here shortly. But let's go ahead and let's get into the Dead Draw, which reduces your hip fire spread. Okay, so up on screen now on the left hand side is the base version of the gun with the hip fire spread, and on the right hand side you have the Dead Draw augment for the Deadshot Daiquiri, and as you can see, it offers you a really significant decrease to your hip fire spread with your weapon. It looks maybe around like 30%. It's a pretty significant decrease to the hip fire. So if you already have a weapon that has got really good hip fire and you want to make it better so you never have to ADS it, then this could be a really good, solid, viable option for you to run as an augment on your Deadshot Daiquiri. As you can see, it makes a wonderful difference. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to Dead Again, which is critical hits have a chance of adding a bullet to your magazine. Now, this one I'm very curious to see just how well this augment works and if you can kind of get a mag of holding style effect with it. So I think what I'm going to do is just maybe switch this weapon over into single fire mode, which I do believe fires 2 bullets with this weapon. Yet indeed, it fires 2 bullets each time you pull the trigger when you have it in single fire mode. When it's pack-a-punched, which is fine, we can just hit a few critical shots and maybe just see how often this is activating and adding a bullet back to our magazine. We got a bullet back there, which is awesome. None there, none there, none there, none there. But also I think we missed some criticals. We didn't get any that time. How about this time? There we go. We got a bullet back on that one. And none there. We got a bullet back on that one. So hitting a critical, so I'd say maybe like every 2 to 3 critical shots. Now, one way that I was kind of thinking that I could test this out is maybe we can time how long it takes us to empty an entire magazine into the air and then compare that to how long it takes us to empty an entire magazine into a horde of zombies. Okay, so what I have are these 2 clips here queued up and ready to go. On the left-hand side is me shooting into the horde of zombies, and of course the right is me emptying the clip, and we can kind of compare how much more firepower we have when we're hitting the critical shots versus when we are just emptying a clip and not hitting any zombies. And go. Okay, obviously in that first test, there really was not much of a difference, but maybe I wasn't hitting a ton of critical shots, so we weren't getting a whole lot of extra bullets added to our magazine. So let's go ahead and do it one more time here for good measure. Okay, so that time we obviously saw a difference. So we got an extra 52 frames worth of ammo firing when we were firing into that horde versus when we were emptying the clip on that one. So we were obviously hitting a little bit more criticals or just getting a little bit more lucky and getting more bullets added to our magazine. Now, I am not a math genius by any standpoint, but if you want to go ahead and find out the fire rate to this gun after it's pack-a-punch, because it does get a little bit faster than what would be listed on the stat sheet, and try to actually figure that out as to how many more bullets you would have gotten, you know, be my guest, go for it. I would love to actually know the answer if you're able to figure that out. So if you want to let me know in the comments, hey, by all means, please do. But I would guesstimate anywhere between like 10 to 12 extra bullets that we got in that weapon, which is super cool. So that could be pretty useful. And finally, that brings us to the final augment here, Dead First, which is deal double critical damage if an enemy is at full health. And personally, this is the one I have been running most of the time. I feel like it does a really good job. And just watch how fast it takes out this horde. It's almost like having insta-kill on, which is absolutely amazing. But there is one little key factor that I'm going to try to talk about and show you here a little bit in this gameplay. is you are going to deal penetration damage when you are shooting into a horde of zombies. So you are not going to get this activation all of the time. Even if you're on controller and you're spamming the ADS, you are still going to be dealing some penetration damage to the other zombies on the map, which I am going to try to demonstrate for you a little bit here as we get some of these zombies lined up and just try to see how many more we are damaging when we're shooting through there. And we're getting 4 or 5 different damage values as we're shooting through the hordes. Obviously, I missed some criticals or they were already injured, but you can see some very low numbers in the background. Those are zombies that are getting dealt some penetration damage. Now, of course, we are getting plenty activations with the dead first and plenty of those double critical damage. So it's going to be kind of a trade-off and a little bit of a race between the dead first and the dead head when it comes to running these augments. The dead again, I don't really think that that one's probably worth it. Maybe if you had a weapon that is really low in ammo, if you're using sniper rifles or marksman rifles or something like that, that might really kind of come into effect for you and make your life a whole lot easier because you're not going to have to reload quite as often with those weapons. So maybe that one will come into play a lot more. I think for most things that you're going to be doing here in the game, whether you're camo grinding, doing much, if you're going to do boss fights, maybe I would recommend the deadhead, because the boss, at least then you're getting that extra damage all the time. So if you go to fight this amalgam right here, well, I'm getting the bonus damage on the first shot, and that's it. I'm not, and I didn't even get it on this one because the first shot I missed a critical shot. So I'm not getting all of that bonus damage. So if you're using the dead head and you're getting the extra damage all of the time against the elites, the amalgams and the manglers and the main bosses on each of the map, if you're doing the main Easter eggs, at least you're going to be getting that damage all of the time. If you're camo grinding, I would highly recommend doing the dead first, as you're going to be able to clear out hordes a lot faster than you would be able to do if you were not running that and you were just running the dead head. As far as the minor augments go, really the only one even worth using is the dead draw. The dead break appears to be bugged, and the dead set I don't believe has any effect for any zombies player out there, and I can't really even think of a use case for. If you can, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about it, but I can't really think about a use case where that would be good for anybody that is playing Black Ops 6 zombies anyway. So there is everything that you need to know about all of the Deadshot daiquiri augments. I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. My name is Cole Whip, and I'm out.